Here now is Alveda King. She is niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She's also a Fox News contributor, and she has a new book out. We Are Not Colorblind, Healing the Racial Divide. I can't think of a better reason to have you on today. You know, when we look at all the unrest in all of these different places, and we hear our presidential candidates, sort of battling back and forth about it, what could either of them actually do to help working families?
Melissa, I'm so glad that you've asked that question. And sometimes I almost shudder to think if we had had anyone else other than a real serious, successful businessman as president of the United States at this time, we really would be in a worse situation than we're in. COVID, you haven't seen anything like that for years and years and years, that type of pandemic. And then the race wars, and to have them both at the same time. So I'm very grateful that President Trump, I'll talk about both candidates, but to begin to stabilize the economy. Either candidate, both candidates would have to do that. I haven't heard a real plan from Joe Biden because his thing is let's spend more government money, do more for the people with the government money and the taxes. That tends to be the way that Mr. Biden thinks. President Trump says, let's keep people working. Let's make sure that people are safe. And he's doing a real good job with that, stabilizing that economy, giving SBA loans and PPP plans and the opportunity zones, money to historically Black colleges and universities, when the criminal justice situation, when people are coming out of jail, making sure that they can be employed and have something to do. So both candidates would have to pay close attention to the economy.
Why do you say that Vice President Joe Biden spending more money wouldn't work? Because, in fact, he spoke earlier in the day, and he did say that. I mean, that was, we've got to spend money on schools, that we've got to send money out to people. All of his solutions involved really big government spending. Why is that not the answer?
If you're taking all of the money from the tax dollars without stabilizing the economy and making sure that you're working with the private sector, that they're stabilized and balanced and are willing to continue to work and to have their businesses safe and their businesses prospering so that people can have money, then of course you can spend more tax dollars. But if everybody is locked up at home, can't go to work, the people who do have businesses, if their businesses are being attacked, bombed, shut down, people are outside screaming and hollering, and you can't get into the businesses, then there is no more money to give away. So it's not really giving away money. When you have a healthy economy, everyone is working and participating in the economy, and then you can help the colleges, the universities, the returning citizens, and the schools. A businessman understands that, but I'm really not hearing that from Joe Biden.
Yeah. When we look at our cities around the country, we'll use New York as an example because we had a restaurant owner on yesterday from Harlem who had a historic restaurant. She employs more than 100 people. It's Sylvia's in Harlem. It's delicious as well as being a historical landmark. Mayor de Blasio is not allowing her to open up and have people come inside. He says this is an upper class problem, that you can't go out to dinner. Oh, poor people. And he doesn't seem to realize what it means to working people at the restaurant and those owners, who are working so hard, and so many are minority. I mean, what do you say to those local leaders who don't get that?
The mayor has an elitist attitude. Sylvia's is a historic restaurant. I've been to Sylvia's, and as a matter of fact, she used to have one in Atlanta, Georgia as well. And so in today's world, people do eat at restaurants. That's not an upper class situation. Many people do. And so for him to say, oh, well, that's just for the upper class, and so we don't have to worry about that. And there are other businesses that are just too, barbershops, beauty salons, and just so many other businesses that people rely on and depend on. And so they can't get in and out.
Yeah.
of their businesses. The businesses are being firebombed and threatened, not by the people who run the businesses, not by the people in the community, but the outside agitators who go in to threaten and destroy. And in some cities now, people are running around to the various neighborhoods and said, give us your keys, give us your house. You don't have a right to live in this house, give us your house. So if you have a very unstable community like that, and you're not allowing people to go to work and go to school and to continue with a normal life. And that's why I said a businessman gets this. And he would say, stabilize that. He stabilized the jobs, and then we can work with money from taxes and things like that. And the business owners are still willing to stay in the community and not leave. You don't want businesses to go away and shut down.
No, that's the key.
Yeah.
Alveda King, thank you for coming on with your wisdom again. We appreciate it.